Welcome to the Pitbull Patti Show. I'm your host, Patti Stuckler. We're keeping it real here with straight talk and sharing true stories that will inspire you to change your life. Are you ready for this? Because here we go. Welcome to Season 3 of the Pitbull Patti Show. The first two seasons, I kind of mixed around with different things. The first season, I did a lot of kind of whatever interested me. And the second season, I really just decided to focus on real estate and really kind of stay in the real estate lane since that's what I do for a living. But what I found is that the most popular podcasts that I've produced in the last year have been really great guests with great stories, a lot of them that are super inspiring and just, really have a message that can help people. So I thought about who I wanted for my first guest, and I have a terrific guest today that actually is my cousin, in full disclosure, and she has an amazing story to tell. Her husband went missing, I think 6 years ago now, so I'll ask Jane in a second the date. But so he went missing, and I really want to share her story with you because it's just an amazing inspiration to me how Jane has handled such an incredible turn of events in her life. So welcome, Jane Martin. I'm so happy to have you as a guest.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to be here, I guess.
Well, I know it's a tough topic. It's a very heavy topic. So tell us what life was like before, your husband Jim went missing. Tell us, you live in Omaha, Nebraska, and
Yeah.
what was Jim doing for a living, and you, and how old were the kids?
He's a project manager and was working with Allegiant, Allegiant.com. No, just Allegiant Health. What do they call it? It's something else though, but Allegiant Hospital. And he was a project manager on a new software. They're switching over to a new software program. And he was doing okay for a little while.
And you have two kids together.
Yeah. Yes, two kids. Jackie is now 22, and Trevor is now 20, but they were, it'll be 6 years, December 10th. 2012 is when he went missing. So it'll be 6 years. And so they were like 14 and 16 at the time. So
tell us about the day that your life changed forever. What happened? What date? That was December 10th, 6 years ago?
Yes. The night or the day before, he just was not himself and just felt like he couldn't handle things, and just kind of, I don't know what the word would be, just helpless, I guess. And then he calmed down, and we thought everything was okay. And I waited till Monday to see if we could get him into the doctor's office, but they didn't have anything. So I got something for Tuesday. Well, after I hung up with him, that was the last time I talked to him.
And that was December 10th. In what year was that? Well,
December or 2012.
2012. So December 10th, 2012, that was your last conversation, was about that you got him a doctor's appointment scheduled to see somebody.
And I'd also asked him if he could pick up our son at school because Jackie had stayed home sick. And he did say yes, but when I got home from work, he wasn't here, but Trevor was. And then they proceeded to tell me that, they haven't seen or talked to their dad. And, so for the long, throughout the night, I kept calling we kept calling. I kept calling, and pretty soon his voice, box is full. So,
And you kept calling, and
yes.
so you're thinking he got into a car accident. What goes through your mind when your husband doesn't come home, doesn't pick up your son that like he said he was going to do, and you start what goes through your mind?
Well, because of his state of mind, I figured um, go back a couple of months, and unfortunately, I mean, I don't know if I need to disclose this, but he actually tried to kill himself by slitting his wrist. And so, that day, I thought that for sure he just left to do that again. And so that was just, the scariest thing ever, that he was somewhere where nobody could help him.
So because of depression, it sounds like, and a lot of other things going on with Jim, you were thinking so you weren't thinking a car accident. You were thinking, other thoughts. And so then did you report him missing by that evening, or what happened in the next, 48 hours?
Yeah, Tuesday I actually I called the police, and they came over, I made a report, um, and just gave him the story that I had, and so then an investigator, they had gotten one out. I don't remember when, but, and so they were checking some, paper trails, and we found our car down by the river. There's a restaurant called Rick's Boat House or Yard. So when we found that in the area that we were in, we're thinking that maybe he got too close to the river, and they had ATVs that went down on each side of the river, looking to see if maybe he got stuck, and we couldn't find anything.
So when they found his vehicle, that was the next day or a couple days?
No, it was almost a week. It was the
okay.
Sunday after. Yeah.
Wow. So what goes through your mind when they find his vehicle, but no Jim? Was his ID or anything like that found?
No, the keys and his wallet were not in the car, but his glasses and his phone was in there, and some beer.
So maybe he went to the river and was contemplating life and drinking.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different scenarios. It's just really hard to know, what really happened to him, because he could have been he could be in the river. It could have been that he wasn't taking his life. He was just trying to, just walk around, and something happened to him and fell in, or I don't know, or he got mugged, or something. There's just too many scenarios.
And what did the authorities say? Did they help in any way to kind of I don't know, investigate it and tell you what they thought happened?
No, they didn't have a whole lot. When it comes to adult people being missing, they do what they can to, go with leads as far as like paper, if he used a credit card or something like that. But we just got to a dead end with that. And because an adult, if they were to have found him, they would say, your family is actually, wanting to know where you are, if you could let them know, because they can't force him to come back. And so that's where that stands.
So what were the kids thinking during all of this? What were they saying? How were they dealing with the fact that Dad's now missing, but yet there's no answers as to where he is, if he's alive, if he's coming back, So how did your kids deal with that?
Well, they just didn't really talk about it. I mean, I tried to engage and see how they were feeling, Trevor just kind of, yeah, just never really talked about it. But I would just ask him how he was doing and everything. And one time he was like, Mom, I actually had a friend's mom die, you know. And so he was basically telling me, that they kind of were able to talk about, losing a parent. But that was it, really. I mean, he didn't show any crying in front of me, and his grades never fell at school. So I wasn't too concerned, and he has a bunch of good guy friends that they weren't any bad influence on him. So I wasn't too worried. But Jackie, what?
I was going to say, and your daughter, Jackie
was, she never was, wanted to really talk to me, for the longest time, but you could tell that it bothered her more outward, because her grades actually did fall in a couple of her classes. So we got her into some counseling, and that seemed to have helped get focus on how everything was working. So
now, when there's a missing person like this case, is there media coverage over this? Do people know about it? Did the community and the friends at school and their parents, did they discuss all this or know about it?
We did actually have a couple of TV channel like 7, I think it was, and then channel 42 came out and interviewed and did put his face, on screen, but it was only maybe a day or maybe 2 days. I can't even remember now. And then that was it as far as that goes. Other than that, community, no, nothing. Maybe at church they might. I wasn't at any of the masses that they, and had intentions for. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, it wasn't real big. My sister-in-law put on a fundraiser for us like a month later, and that was a pretty good turnout. Mm-hmm. It's amazing how fast money goes.
Well, that's, in fact, I was going to ask you about that. So during all this, when you have a husband missing, then there's no more income from your husband, and you're living off of your income.
Yeah.
Trying to support 2 kids at home. What was there financial assistance available to you, since there was no body to say he was dead? Right. No Social Security, no SSI, correct?
Right. And no, I couldn't get any kind of assistance because I made too much. Isn't that ironic?
Wow. What were you doing at that time?
The same thing I'm doing now, but I'm at the Nebraska Medicine's medical imaging, medical records department. Mm-hmm. I mean, and it's okay pay, and it was good supplemental income with my husband, but I was planning on going back to school. Mm-hmm. And then, but now I can't right now. I don't know if I'll ever be able to, but.
Right, because so in all these years, in 6 years, your whole life has been upside down, has been in a limbo. What do you think, Jane, in your gut, in your heart, what does your instinct tell you what happened? What do you think is the most likely thing that happened to Jim?
I believe that he's in the water somewhere, Mm-hmm. I don't think he's alive. Because if he is, then he's living under somebody else's, Social Security number and another name. Mm-hmm. But that just doesn't seem feasible.
No, it doesn't, does it? And there's been no tips either. No tip line, no tips along the way in all these years as far as sightings or.
Right. Well, I did get his name in it's called Key. Oh, this is terrible. Project Jason is the name of it. And there was a lady that actually here in Omaha had her son disappear out to nowhere, and to this day they haven't found him, but he was 19. Anyway, she got this non-profit organization so that people could come and have like just other people's support and any kind of like counseling available to them. And then they had retreats where you could go and meet other people that way. And so his name was in there, that database. And there's another database, what's it called? NamUs. Something.
And did you get, so the database is to where
other missing people.
So did you say you went to a camp of some kind for
a retreat
for other people in this very unique situation with a missing person within the family?
Right. And most of them were actually parents of missing children. There was only one other person that had a missing spouse.
Wow.
So, it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, I would imagine that the rate of missing children would be considerably higher because you hear of all kinds of things happening these days. But to be able to find support among somebody who could possibly understand must be really, really important, because what did people say? I'm sure these days it's because it's been so long, it's different. But what did people say initially because what do you say to somebody in your shoes? You don't know whether he's missing, he's injured somewhere, he's dead. You don't know. So what do you say?
I mean, people I just tell them, I said, there's no other leads. I'm just as dumbfounded as everybody else. So because everybody's like, well, have you heard anything? No,
So what, at this point, as far as financially, because now I don't know what the Nebraska laws are, and maybe you do, and they probably vary state to state, but without having a body, then is there a time frame that you know of that Jim, your spouse, has to be missing before they can be declared deceased and you can receive benefits?
Yeah, 7 years. And I was told by my lawyer, they don't actually declare them dead, but they presume them dead. So then that's hopefully when I can start the ball rolling for his, Social Security. And it'll probably just be for the kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you won't get his Social Security for yourself or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't know, because I haven't looked into it a whole lot, but I've heard from other people it's more for the children. And now that they're past that age, hopefully, I believe the gentleman at Social Security office said that they would retro back to, the years that they were, how old they were.
Well, in the meantime, how have you been able to get by financially with all of this?
I have had to work 2 jobs. I've been lucky that they had overtime at my job that I do 40 hours a week, and that lasted quite a while. But then when that ran out, then, now I'm working for less money, part-time, so I don't have a whole lot of time. Luckily, the kids were older, that they didn't require a lot of my my presence, because they were self-sufficient, but they still needed a place to stay and food on the table. And I did have a lot of help from one of Jim's brothers. They helped for quite a few years with some money.
So you were able to keep the house and...
Yeah.
Thank goodness, and squeak by.
Yeah, very, very squeaky.
Oh my goodness, Jane. Well, I tell you what, you have one of the best personalities, the most vivacious personalities of anybody I know, and
Wow.
yeah, no, you have a terrific laugh, and I just think you're amazing. What has gotten you through it more than anything? Is there something that you can point to that you say, if this is how I was able to get up every day? Because I would imagine you'd want to be depressed and not get up.
Well, yeah, my job let me for the first year kind of take off when I needed it, the intermittent. So I didn't lose pay for it. So that first year was pretty much a blur. I was just trying to get through just day-to-day life. And I actually, that's still happening 5 years later. So I haven't had much time to. My daughter kept saying, you need to socialize more. You need, but it's hard when you work 2 jobs. So anyway.
Well, and that in fact makes me wonder, do you consider yourself still married to Jim?
Yeah, because the finality of it is he's still out there. Mm-hmm. Whether I believe he's dead or not, you just don't know. So yes, I still believe I'm married.
And you still wear your wedding ring?
Actually, my wedding ring, unfortunately, I lost my diamond. So, and I had to get my ring cut off, and because I swelled up.
Oh my goodness. Well, hopefully I sincerely hope for your sake that you can eventually move on to a point where you can, find love again, and you're still way too young to that's it as far as a relationship. So I hope that can change for you at some point.
Yeah. The thought of it, even still 6 years later, it's been so long, we've been together for quite a while. It just seems weird that I might find somebody else. So, but you never know.
Well, hopefully, even if it's at one of those 2 jobs.
Yeah, really.
Or maybe at church on Sunday. That might be the best place.
Yeah, maybe I should get more involved in that.
Yeah. Yes, I think. Well, what advice would you give anybody that could have a family member, whether it's a spouse or a child or a sister or somebody missing, that goes missing in such a weird way? And there's no answers. What advice would you give that person?
I really don't have any, because I just had to get up in the morning because I had other responsibilities, and I showed my emotions more on by myself than in front of people. Mm-hmm. So, you just got to keep on trucking, I guess.
Well, that's good advice.
Have your moments, whether it's with somebody or not, it's okay. So.
Well, Jane, I think that's actually really good advice. Keep on trucking, like you said. You got to get up. You've got other responsibilities. Most people do. They have other family, so they've got a reason to get up, even when it's painful. So I got to ask you, do you have a GoFundMe account? Do you have one set up? Have you ever set one up?
Actually, no.
Well, I think you should set one up, and anyone listening, if they want to assist in any way, I would love to see you go back to college. Sounds like that's what you were wanting to do.
So would I. I'd love to do that.
Go back to school and kind of start your life over again, and anything that people can do to help. People are often very generous, so I would ask you to set one up, and you've I think it's easy to do. I don't know, but I think it is. I've heard that it is. I had a client, in fact, that her husband got brain cancer. He was a firefighter. I don't know if that was any connection to that, but anyway, she had 2 young children, and he had surgery and so forth. And I sold their house, and he did die, and she had a GoFundMe account, and that greatly helped her get through that financially. So,
wow. That's awesome.
And these days, 6 years ago, they probably didn't have a GoFundMe accounts at that time. I don't think so.
Yeah, I've never really actually heard of GoFundMe. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think some of the politicians have them these days.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
But usually they're people for a lot of times for very good reasons like yours. That could really use a hand. So start that up, and so that people can find you if they want to find you. Jane Martin, and in Omaha, Nebraska, and set that up. And if you do, let me know, and I'll make sure to try to get it out there for you. Because I really want to thank you for sharing your story. I think it's so great for people to connect with other people and know that they're not alone. You've got such a unique story that most people can't relate to. I certainly, can't even imagine it. Being in limbo for so long would be the hardest part.
I know. I try not to think about it now, because it makes me sad. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love you, and I wish the best for you,
I love you
Jane.
too.
And I want to thank you for coming on and sharing such a difficult story with me and with anyone listening. So thank you for coming on to the Patti Show, and
thanks for having me.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you in the near future.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
This ends this episode of the Patti Show, where we are keeping it real. So until next time.